which is good for us. Um, though what I was saying, I was messaging y'all earlier. They're kind of cagey on what percentage essential oil is in there, but it's obvious that it's not pure essential oil. Otherwise, they'd evaporate all right away. But what I'd like to do is, yeah, distill out the essential oil from it and kind of reverse engineer what percentage essential oil they have in their product.
Is there a way I can do that? I mean,
Oh, I have a distillation
of
kit,
course,
so
yeah.
I can find out. Well, see, I got it to make my own
And then,
essential oil,
we,
and
we
I've
go
never
at Cody's lab. They'll do it for fun.
so like I got it to do it, and like, but I've not been too successful with that because getting a lot of water comes over, and then you have to do like probably multiple stages of separatory flask, and I only have like one big separatory flask, and sometimes you have to do like add extra things to like help separate it out.
At
But
least kind of
what I
stuff.
figure, yeah, DCM. But what I figure is the carrier oil has a lot higher boiling point, or even like evaporating point than the essential oil. So it should be a lot easier to separate this than it is to like grind up a orange and put it in there and try to get the water and oil to separate. Yeah. So I figure I could figure out, well, in worst case scenario, even if I don't capture any of the essential oil from this, I'll still see how much residual carrier oil there is. It's just got to
Okay.
run for like 2 to 4 hours at 100 C, because the carrier oils like won't boil till like 300 C. So yeah, is
I think
get rid of all the essential oil and find out how much carrier oil there is, and then I can be honest with people about, is it 5%, is it 10%? Is some people care about like what percentage essential oil is in there. Between like 0.2 and 10% would probably be the usual.
the live is back up.
Sweet.
Next,
So should we readdress the last question? Where did it cut off on the answering how we got
Um,
started with?
it cut
I
off
could do
in
a
the
quick
middle.
recap.
Give me like 2 seconds to connect my external drive real quick, and I will set this to record. That way, even if it messes up, we'll still have it recording, and then we can post it later.
Sweet.
start doing the same thing too. I'm just pulling this in ghetto style low res into OBS just so I have a copy here for
Do we
us.
have any number, like how many people are watching, or?
Well, since it reset, it went down to 1, which is probably just me.
Oh, it shows us 4 viewers on when I pulled it up just now on Twitch.
I'm
One of
not
them's
gonna
me,
lie to
one of
you.
them's
I
you, one of them's you. So
1000% believe that it displays more accurate information to your side than it does to the stream
oh, now it only
manager
says
side.
two. Dang it! It was probably me and you watching this stream. Fun times.
Oh, look, Peter, check how clean this print came out.
Wait. What's on the bottom? You gonna
Oh,
send that?
yeah, I haven't removed that yet. This is a new
Gotcha.
adapter to go to my breathing device, so I can attach to a standard off-the-shelf mask. But yeah,
Sweet.
I did a 50 micron print. So this is so smooth.
Sweet. PLA?
PLA,
Yep.
2-year-old PLA.
Hmm.
Never even taken care of, and it still prints it out like a doozy. But yeah, about the little napkin thing, this works out really well. I mean, if you're gonna just be sitting in a world, you just want to kind of like get a little bit of a potpourri smell going on. Just doing this and just putting the headset on, even that makes a world of difference.
Yep.
Okay,
But
so
we once we get more worlds set up.
It'd be all automatic.
Yep. Ooh. Right now it's just the boardwalk.
Oh, to make their world Cilia compatible, they're waiting for me to come in there with a machine that works and test it with them, figure out boundaries and smells.
Sweet. Yeah, we need to get with Rubik some this weekend if we can. As I was trying to flash the newest firmware,
Ooh,
and there was some weirdness with the new firmware, so I
before
need to
I
get with
forget,
Rubik.
you know how they have the mentors for Neos to help folks, mentorship stuff, new folks. We need an internal slang term for the smell helpers out there, the snoots. Maybe we should call them the snoots. I don't know. Who go
Uh,
around and they are basically trained by us. They've got a cilia, and they're trained by us to know how to implement this properly in a map.
in Neos, yeah.
Because you and I will always be, we'll be busy half time building these things if this thing takes off. I'll be out of VR. I'll be in the workshop most of the day. So I'd like to be able to offload that tribal knowledge to someone else, ideally. So once the new year hits, I think we ought to evaluate, depending on our sales, if we end up selling the whole lot to Neos people, we might want to consider saying, hey, you're part of the first 30, our smell explorers. Do you mind taking on the honorary role of this?
Yeah, a scent trainer
Also,
or
we gotta design a badge they can wear on their avatar showing that they bought one. Come on, that's great advertising. It's all
well, I
there.
mean, it can yeah be this.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So, did you say you got things running again? As are you ready to restart the questions or
Yeah, so I think everything looks good.
sweet?
Excellent.
And so let me get my questions pulled back up here. But the original question was, how did you come up with this idea and how did it get started?
Right. So, definitely a lot of the credit as far as inspiration goes to Ernie Klein and the book Ready Player One, because in that book he outlined a lot of the devices that we need for having VR kind of in the next few years type of thing. So background dev kit one time I had read that book. When I say dev kit one, I should say clarify of the Oculus Rift, and wanted to get into making hardware. And I looked at, hey, make a treadmill, motion tracking. People are already working on that. So I started working on haptic gloves for a while, and at some point, I needed a project for an electronics class. And I was like, oh, what's something else I could work on in addition to, feeling VR? So I started making a device for smelling, and it was just kind of heating up test tubes and trying to open and close little 3D printed valves. And while like everything, movement wise functioned, the volatile scent particles just escape too readily from the heated up test tubes. So later on in that semester, a few people said, "Hey, what about these like car air fresheners? Could you do something of that?" And I thought, "Hey, there might be something to that." So the next semester on a weekend, I went over to the Dallas Makerspace and mocked up the first prototype. Just 3D printed a case, put in some 40 millimeter fans I had bought from the Discount Electronics, put in an Arduino with some transistors and some 12-volt green LED strip, and got it functioning, and it worked really well. It wasn't connected to a game at the time, but we evolved it from there into closer to the current form factor. And then after the Linus Tech Tips video that came out last year covering it, I started a Discord, and I met the other Peter here, and he brought me into Neos, and we met Gypsy and Rubik, and we've all been working together on the microcilia since then. Peter, doing the kind of mechanical design, Gypsy on circuit boards, and Rubik on software, and it's been great. We still live?
Yeah.
Sweet.
So how does this project, the cilia and the microcilia, vary from like other smell-o-vision type products that I've seen.
Gotcha. So there's a few different ones out there. Some of them are more, large kind of out of home, one-offs, like, like Disney has their stuff. As far as more kind of consumer facing, of course, you had the Nautilus Rift that, feel like, hey, there's that, stinky device that was put out more kind of like as a joke, but like, they did put a few of them out. Then, scented candles and all that. Then you have Feel Real that hasn't really been able to ship their products because the device's technology is basically a vape for all practical purposes. So they haven't been able to kind of deliver on their Kickstarter. Besides them, there's a company that has kind of like a little barrel type device you put on your desk, and you buy that for, from what I understand, a few $1,000s. And then you buy each of the little cartridges that go in that and put like a little dab of essential oil, and you buy those for like, I think like 60, $80 a piece that go in there, and then it, I think, probably like gates the smell and blows. I'm not entirely sure, but it's a company in Japan, and then the aroma join, I think it is, and then there's the ion that has something that you also, another kind of scent curtain type thing that you hang underneath, and it, I think, basically injects like a mist of kind of their in-house brewed essential oil slash water mixture, and kind of blows that into the thing right up against your face. Um, though, yeah, both of those, they're not really, just go to the website and click and buy. They're more, reach out to them and kind of become like an early person who has a kit, I presume. Also, I feel like the Ion might be less consumer facing and maybe more B2B type facing, but I can't say for sure. Our device is definitely more scented oil, so not pure essential oil based, and we have these little bottles that are closer to kind of a reed diffuser, um, and then on the original Cilia, close to like a car air freshener with some scented oil in it and a membrane in the back to let some scent through. And then, as far as the dispersion method, as opposed to using like heating coils on the Feel Real or like gated valves, we just have individually controlled fans that we can control the intensity of. And then, as the air blows past the wick or the membrane, it picks up some of those, essential oil volatiles and then wafts it the rest of the way over the air to your nose. So you're just getting like little small quantity whiffs of essential oil, just like you'd get, coming off of, if you're cooking food, the volatiles come off of that over the air to your nose. So yeah, it's a lot closer representing it than like having a vape really, close to your face. Like the closer you get scents to your face, kind of the more distorted the scent becomes.
That's
So having
yeah.
it more
Yeah,
distance helps out a lot. Um, but I mean, that's part of why the first unit was sitting like actually multiple feet away from you. But part of the problem with having that is, if you want a kind of a 360 experience, you have to set up multiple cilias around your room to get that 360 experience. So this is kind of like a compromise. It's on your body, so it moves around with you, but it's not like right up there on your face.
So
Also, since we're using scented oils, it's, more dilute, so you have less safety concerns than you do with pure essential oils. Though needless to say, you still don't want to go really putting it, on your skin because it can be an
yeah,
irritant. You don't want to actually like drink it. Now another thing is like our bottles are refillable, so that's, one pro. You don't have to buy a new bottle from us each time. You can, unscrew the lid, put new oils in, though they said, it still can be a skin irritant. So you want to wear gloves, you want to use like a little pipette to get it in, or something similar. So, just keeping it off your skin, having good safety. If you're not comfortable with that, then, it's okay. You can just continue to buy filled bottles from us. But there's a lot of flexibility. We also sell like empty ones. So if you want to source your own oils, you know what's in it. If you have an allergy and like I need to get like this specific like organic essential oil that won't affect me, then you can get those and fill the bottle with your own scents.
So the Cilia definitely seems like it's a lot more consumer friendly and
Right.
consumer
That's our
focused
target
device.
audience. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. I
And
mean,
specifically right now, the developers especially, because we need more content for the consumers. Though
So you were
that
talking
bring
about
oh go
another
ahead.
Cilia. Do you have that one with you?
I have an enclosure right here.
here,
I have
put
another Cilia over there.
the old one.
If you don't mind
So
me
it's hard.
standing up, I'll go grab that one over there real quick.
Yeah, not a problem.
All right, be back in a minute.
So
That our
the
entire process for Cilia has been to make it easy for us to build it in large quantity. And some folks at home already have a 3D printer. Our idea is that from selling them just a bare board with fans ready to go, or the whole kit, if you've already got, let's say you're Bungie, you've already got some nerd who's got access to 3D printer in your work environment, use that. There's no point in buying the whole kit, right? It's so much cheaper that way. Or you're just an end user who wants to tinker around with developing on the software side. You don't want to start working on the hardware. You want to just buy the hardware preset ready to go, try to tinker in the software side of things.
Okay.
Those whole full kits too. Full ready to go
Here we
assemblies.
go. This one's a put together unit. So you can see there's 6 fans along the back there. There's magnetically held on faceplate with a board back there with some RGB LEDs. And then we have these dividers here. So the bottles, which actually these are 15 milliliter as opposed to the 2 milliliter ones in the micro kit, can either sit on top like that. They can sit leaned back like that. And we also send a set of dividers as a whole. So these can actually be screwed through, and then basically this slides in with the bottle in place. Um, this one's being put together right now, but this is and actually let me do a side by side. So Colin from Linus Tech Tips had actually advised maybe, hey, is there a way you could make it a little shorter? Since uh, you have some extra room in there. So this is kind of the squeezed down version where the fans are kind of moved down, and then the air is kind of guided up and over these. And so these are kind of what I was talking about. There's like a little hole right there.
mm-hmm.
So let me just. Hopefully, I don't spill this on camera. That'd be unfortunate.
How is
So you
that, Peter?
basically go like that, get the bottle on the thing, and then
Peter.
just put it back into the unit like that. And now the bottle's in there. And it's kind of the same thing. The face plate goes on the front, and then the air just blows out in the room. But in this one, there's only one orientation to put the bottles in. Going back to this one, in addition to having like 3 orientations you can the bottles in, you kind of see there the little horizontal bar.
Mm-hmm.
That's because going back to the original design, like I said, I made at the makerspace over a weekend. The idea was car air fresheners. So this one has the flexibility still to put in little car air fresheners, if that's something that you want to do.
Okay, that makes sense.
But you can buy our bottles too, which last like at least 7 times as long. So yeah.
So the red one that
And
you
then
had there is
we'll
like
kind
the
of put
one
that
that was
side by
on.
side. Here's a height. This is about this actually the same height as the micro, but the micro is definitely thinner. And then here's this one next to the Micro, it's taller and it's bigger in all dimensions.
So the red one that you had
Yeah.
there is like the one that was on Tech Tips, right?
The cool thing, these ones they don't have to just sit on your desk. They can be put on a tripod. So that helps for standing VR with them. But once again, this is a lot more convenient for 360. It just turns with you. So yeah.
Latency.
Wait, Peter, I think your mic's
Mike?
muted.
I don't think so.
Can you not
Hello?
hear me?
Either that or I'm muted.
Hello? Hi?
Oh, nope, my volume got muted. My bad.
Yeah,
Can
I
y'all hear me
thought you
now?
made there.
Sorry. Yeah, I can
Oh,
hear you
yeah.
all now.
You and your fuzzy headset.
Yeah, my fuzzy headset.
So, yeah, I mean, one of the things that's interesting about it, too, is that one of the advantages of the system over the old one is loadouts. Originally, when we designed this, they were all just going to drop in, kind of like this, if you will, with only the tops. Originally the idea was actually kind of like that. You just drop them in, and they'd be exposed, and there was going to be no retention. It was going to drop in. You want to take them out, it's going to splat on the table, kind of like playing Yahtzee. The thing is, though, I realized if I kind of load my bullet into a cartridge like this, then I can then attach them to here. Now, if I'm playing games, I can just do loadouts like this.
Yeah.
So you could change
They
out the
got a
cartridge
little.
based on what game you're playing?
Or even what
Yeah.
character the game. Remember, this is only 8 smells, so this is going to cover a lot of games quite well. There may be experiences we're going to have for a long story. 3
You
different
might want.
biomes.
Yeah.
Right, like
Yeah. A
Destiny.
few different cartridges.
Destiny 1. For instance, the Cosmodrome, right? Different biomes we're going to.
Yep.
Going outside, one sent array. B, the B cartridge would be inside that Russian space complex, and C, you're outside again on the landing. So there you go.
I could even if you were to somehow hack it with a mod of an old game like Ocarina of Time, you could have each of the different temples would have their own set of smells. And then the overworld would have smells, and Long Range could have a set of smells.
We gotta tweak that. That's gonna happen. That sounds like a great idea.
Well, I mean, people are recreating Ocarina of Time in Neo, so
I think they are.
yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. Maybe. Who knows?
If they manage it, then they could just fill it up with smells.
Great, Peter. We just saw like damn horse, like right here. There you go. We're good. And carrots, and what's really neat about it too is how this layout system. One of the things that Peter and I were talking about a while back is genius. This, we've got a webcam here, right? What if when you're playing the game, you just hold something up to your webcam, and the QR code auto activates into your system, so it knows, hey, put center cartridge 5 in. We're changing this part of the game. Okay, boom, assign, it's in. So you can just hold the cartridge up like a barcode scanner at a supermarket to your webcam to scan the QR code, and it already knows from that what you already have in there.
Gypsy was already kind of prototyping that with making an app for that. So yeah.
But our goal is beyond apps. We also want to do it as a desktop version because everyone's got a smartphone. But now that's what the software will auto just talk through your existing webcam on your computer.
Yeah, just reading like a data code or a QR code.
Exactly. Or we can just
we're leaning more towards the data codes or whatever they're called. They read a little bit better than the QR codes.
Yeah, but it's some sort of encoding system. Or heck, even though IBM font and just some OCR work just fine too for a string of text, really in reality. But that's kind of the idea behind it. So we're trying to really make this as consumer, even though this is a truly a 3D printed dev kit. They're all made bespoke one by one. They are really mentally we're trying to get away from that and make it as consumer friendly as possible, minus the injection molding part. We have dual layer boards in here that are fully soldered professionally. We just don't have the oomph to spend $40,000 on injection molding mold yet. That's a 40 grand we don't have. Big kind of jump. But now, but hey, help us get there, and we'll have custom plastic cases made eventually. So.
And since we opened the stream, I don't think I've opened this yet. If you
show out the inside.
Take a look at the inside.
Oil-wise, here's apple smoke bacon. This is not a good smell. Actually, I do not like this one in the slightest. I should have got the non-apple one, honestly. Okay. This smells like pepper, honestly. But
so we're still working on the mechanicals a little bit. Peter actually made a new version, so I'm going to be printing that. But yeah, basically you unscrew the thumb screws, and then there's our board right there with the fans all hooked up into it. and there's a little connector right there for expansions, whether that's more rows of sense. And we're actually, if I can pull this up, this is kind of a revision one of an add-on board that
Fit?
plugs
Does it
into
fit?
there.
It
Yeah.
fits. Look at that.
So to add on more rows of sense, this would just be a single row, and it's not very smart. But we have more communication methods over this, so we could do one that's like doubled up, 2 rows, 4 rows of additional sense. Um, Gypsy's also working on one that's like hot cold air blower. So that may come out in the future. We could hook into things that do like vibration.
Or
There's somebody who's talking with us about
built-in
a
Tundra tracker.
vibration.
Built-in the faceplate is also your touch tracker for multi-point tracking.
Right now, it's powered by USB-C, but we could have a module you plug in that has a battery in it.
Yeah, Peter,
Um,
is your audio dead?
is my audio dead?
Oh, okay, here it's fine, cool.
Oh, okay.
I did.
Yeah, so plugging in a module that adds on battery without having to go by USB-C,
Yep.
if that's something that you want. One that's kind of out there, but I'd like to see if we could tackle it at some point, would to be have a set of like 7 different powders to cover the 5 different flavors, along with a kind of mint for cool and like some pepper for like the pain sensation, and you'd inject those powders in the right amount into a water stream coming out of like a camel pack. So then you could actually like drink, and it would let those powders in so that it could come to your mouth and you could get taste along with the smell, so that you can be getting something flavor while you're playing a game. Like I said, that one's kind of out there. I don't know if we'd ever actually get to that, but it's definitely a possibility of something that could plug into this. And then, like I said, you'd add on a camel pack of water,
Part
and
is
you're good
just
to
another
go.
smell layer for us, but the hardware is the pumping. How do you microdose those things?
Oh, you'd be sipping. So you'd be sipping,
True.
and then it would be just gating the powders and
How do
the
you gate a
right
powder?
thing.
That's
That
mechanical.
would be tricky.
You're
It'd be
making me do
tricky.
my engineering job, Peter. I had to think how to gate, a little bit of a little dust
Like I
at a
said,
time.
that one's kind of out there, so don't hold us to it. The easy ones will be things like the
On the way.
vibration and more rows of sense and batteries and hot cold air. Maybe misting. We're a little hesitant on the mist, like doing water mist,
Yeah, I am
because it
very.
depends on all your other hardware if it can
I
handle
don't
being
want to touch that.
splashed.
Oh God, no.
But
Modern headsets are nah.
yeah, there's we might figure out another way to do that. Maybe we can find some way to get kind of like motion and temperature to like emulate, but then we'd be probably making some sort of complex like mask thing to like make you feel fake wetness. I don't know. But the idea is this plug will allow this to be more than just 8 cents. It'll allow us to expand it onto other things, even if that's just a cool like grid of RGB LEDs.
Well, and as seen here first, actually, Peter, one of the things I wanted to offer to the table, I mean to bring it up to you, is as heard here first. I put together a proposal a year ago for a way of tracking things uses RF versus EM fields versus your usual IR tracking dot systems. And this has the horsepower to run that. What if your Cilia also could do hand tracking? Well, it could do finger tracking on the order of that of the magic lead sensor, one of these lead sensors like this. But if I'm going to buy one of these, and it's done via gloves and then O-ring size tracking rings. That's it. There's no, and those don't have any power. They're passive. They're resonant. I'll leave it at that. So full finger tracking, fast tracking for ASL users, right? That kind of stuff. Based off the Cilia. This is a brain box stuff. This is really the central command center for many things that come down the pipe.
Right. And we'll be working on the haptic gloves, so if we wanted to have communication between this and the haptic gloves in the future, we could do that. Yeah. I'm pointing to my back. I'm probably confusing people. Gloves in hand, but we're part of our haptic gloves work is there's a backpack that actually has the actuators and the sensors to keep what's on your actual hands as light as possible. So that's kind of the biggest part. And I'm always thinking like, oh, the computer's back here, so this would like wrap around and connect to the thing on your back.
So y'all have actually just in this conversation covered a lot of the other questions I had, but I did want to ask some I guess, interesting questions like how has the team worked together? Like, I know everybody is located in different parts of the country and the world. How is everybody working together and collaborating
Considering
cohesively?
we started this during the middle of a pandemic. I mean, this is historically during a chip shortage. Actually already hurt us once. I mean, we are actively doing the wrong thing to design during the middle of now. And so then again, to the victor, so the spoils, as they say. I mean, it's an uphill battle for sure, but we all get along pretty good. And I guess no one's really forced to be a part of this, so everyone's kind of come together on their own fruition to kind of everything. And I think what's really neat about this team is this. Usually, when I've been involved in engineering projects, I'm older. I'm 35, and Peter, you're not much less than I am.
30, yeah, no.
You're happy up there. Usually, it's someone who's only software, only hardware, only embedded. The thing is, like you mentioned in the other video, Peter, I think all of us have at least 30% overlap in all the skills. I mean, you don't technically need me at all, in theory. Clearly, you made the first one. I'm just here to add polish and kind of loop things along. But it's that.
I don't know if we would have come up with this. So I was trying to work on something that would hang on the bottom of your mask, just like a lot of the other ones, because like maybe we could figure some way to make that work. But we ran into the classic problem when it's up there that is a lot of scent leak, right? And so Peter, the other, yeah. The funny, if we haven't clarified, I'm Peter. We're both Peter.
That makes it more awkward, by the way. It makes it funny as can be too.
So yeah, Peter, is the one who mechanically designed this. So like, yeah, if he hadn't been on the team, I don't know if we would have come up with the more kind of GoPro-esque mounted solution to this. So this is like a happy compromise, because even if the one I was trying to make that would like hang on the bottom of your headset, I was trying to like make it light as possible with like little cork pads. Like that wouldn't like last very long, versus these will last a month plus, which is like perfectly fine. We don't necessarily need them to last 7+ months. I mean, like if you're not using one of these bottles, it'll last a few years, to be honest. If you're using it actively, it's going to last at least 7 months. Whereas these, it'll last a month plus type of thing.
Ed, I did a test. So I 3D printed a little cell about this big, right, folks? I put in one solid vial like this. I basically made a fan tester to test out, a fan. Dropped this in my room up my bedroom on the standard wick. I put in there, I believe, root beer. And I just let it run. I said, I'll go to bed, let it run the entire night. The day I wake up and I smell no more smell, either I got COVID or the ball's empty. 5 days passed. I could still smell this. That's running at full fan speed. That's like falling asleep in Neos for 5 days straight for a face inside of a pine cone. Ain't gonna happen. So from a gamer standpoint, for that market, I did the math. 30 hours minimum run time, absolute minimum.
That's like pure essential oil, right?
No, that was the off the shelf root beer.
Oh, okay.
That is our standard stuff. I went for box standard.
Even the bare essential oil lasts 30 hours, and that one's a lot more volatile.
Well, I think that's the thing, but I know that after that time, I was still smelling at full tilt.
Yeah.
Which was something weird. I thought, oh, it's gotta be gone by now. Nope. Day 5, it's still on there. Day 7, it got a little weaker. So
right.
That's a non-stop use, though. That's
right. Which the average user only be playing a few hours a day.
Well, right.
Part of answering the original question you asked, we need to give a shout out to Neos VR, because that's where a lot of our meetings have been, is going into Neos VR, which, unlike other kind of VR chat programs, I guess pun kind of intended, we go in and we can just import 3D models directly from our computers and just start, scaling them, moving them around, manipulating them, texturing them, making ourselves smaller and flying around the vias and mechanical parts. And from there we can point out, oh, we need to change this, we need to change that, this is overlapping. So like if there's any other companies out there designing a product, I highly recommend going into Neos and utilizing it. Get your commercial license, but go in and you'll be able to collaborate and a lot better and save money too from
Oh, absolutely.
less iterations from having to 3D print or send off for boards. You can
Machine or
cut that
whatnot.
down. Yeah.
So Pete, when I joined Peter Hapticsol, I own my own company, Megavolt Services LLC. I do industrial design. Um, I came on board to kind of polish things up and bring version 2 to market, to taking what Lion said literally and go latency and underactivity, fix those problems, made it more off to go to market, also made it more tailored towards the Neos market, where we have a lot of people who want to buy this kind of stuff. And I would say of the initial design, over half our time was spent in meetings in VR. So every few days we'd get on during that peak build of the hardware kind of hash out phase. Minor revisions we don't bother anymore. But the major, like, here's, we got to decide 8 or 6 files, what size fans we want. We were bringing all the options, and then we'd also do mass out testing. So we'd bring in a board, and then we'd work around the board. We'd actually add a primitive here. We can't do all the perfect modeling meals. It's not designed for CAD, of course. It's designed for making games, whatnot. But we can bring in stuff, add mass out things, primitives here and there, bring it back into AutoCAD on my end on Fusion 360, and then go from there. So neat.
And
This
then
is
bring it back again into Neos
right.
to see the final thing.
Right. So I can safely say this is probably one of, if not the first ever product designed primarily in VR for the VR market, let alone one designed primarily in the engine it's being deployed in. I mean, it's one thing to build something in SolidWorks VR, if it even existed, to then use the SolidWorks to use for the VR market. Neos is a game engine primarily first, a metaverse engine, which has now indirectly created its own piece of hardware. I mean, Ready Player One, that idea of a metaverse, I think in FMA is always been, you become a metaverse when you start making your own hardware and software recursively on a large scale. This is not that just yet. We're not RPO yet, but we're getting there. And that's kind of scary to think a bunch of nerds and Neos made something for themselves. It's yep. Just cool because that's the whole point of VR collaboration at the end of the day. It's not just seeing in front of mirrors, it's not just having pretty avatars, it's also those things and making cool hardware. I mean, for me, it's great because I mean, for me as an electrical engineer, I had an issue about board clearances. We need space for this product to fit into here. How are we going to solder this? Is this going to fit properly in this area? And be able just to make the whole thing the size of my room back here. Me and Peter did the size of just basically an atom. And we walk around. We'll inspect our work, and then we'll go and commit to a design and send it off. So it makes that design process that much more determinate. So we know when something's sent off to be manufactured, other than the button prompt we had, those things don't pop up.
Yeah.
The funny thing is, we didn't go in that day after we changed that, did we? We just said, this looks good. We didn't do one more design review, did we now? And I think that's exactly what bit us in the butt.
Could have seen that the wire was going to the case of the button instead of the...
Oh, yeah. I feel so bad for that.
Yeah. I mean, at least we only required 2 revisions to work out all the bugs. Our push buttons work now. We shaved off... this is an old board. We shaved off this to make it just a rectangle, and all the things are pointing down, which is why we have to change the plastic a little bit, because now there's extends a little bit down, too far down on that side. And then we made the this a little bit bigger. I mean, this isn't really something you can see in VR. Like if it's easy to do insert something into there, as more like, hey, how hard is it to push in, which is where we end up deciding, we're going to go to the more typical 2.54 millimeter header. But that was pretty much it. Was just those 3 things. Everything else we caught beforehand by working together in Neos. So and some on Discord too. When we're actually in CAD drawing, we'd get on the Discord call. But yeah.
So y'all used Discord and Neos to collaborate and work on
Correct.
this. And I knew about this project, and I knew what Peter was working on before the pandemic. So I was gonna ask how the pandemic has affected work on
I
the
don't
project,
even know,
but obviously it sounds like it really hasn't, because y'all are using such amazing digital and online tools to be able to accomplish stuff that you would normally have to be in person to do.
So let me there's a few things. So from a hardware standpoint, some of the shortages have affected our part
Yeah,
choice.
rest in peace,
Because
Cilia.
we were going to go with like a smaller
What?
version of the
I still want to build
ESP32,
one. You should just build one.
but it wasn't available anywhere by the time we were wanting to order a board, so we had to rework it with the more typical room ESP32, which I mean it's fine. This is a good form factor and it's a lot easier to source part.
Quiet.
Um, we may not have realized that if it hadn't been for the pandemic.
Yeah, yeah, that's
The other
true.
thing is I just don't know if it would have worked out the same. Like I don't even know
And speeds.
if
I
I
don't
would
think
have
it would have.
ended up like so uh, some of the events that led to like Colin requesting the Cilia to be on LTT, I don't know if they would have happened if it wasn't for the pandemic. Just to be honest, like the exact, I don't know if I want to go into all the details of exactly like how he came across it, but there's something that happens now that probably wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for the pandemic, like on a regular basis, and that he and I both, yeah. Anyways, like ended up in him wanting one for Linus Tech Tips, and so like it's just one of those kind of like butterfly effect type of things where like this happened and now this happened and this happened and all that ended up in, oh, he came across my device, wanted one, they covered it, and then hey, I've got a lot more attention, maybe I should start a Discord and then meet Peter and Gypsy and all of well, first Peter getting into Neos and then meeting everybody else in Neos, and then you know this resulting like, yeah, I mean, yeah, it's just one of those things like it affected it in that way, in a butterfly effect way, and then it affected us more in the kind of our hardware choices due to limitations of parts. Those would probably be the two biggest ways I can think of. Peter, do you have any other ways
So,
you'd
I
say
mean,
the pandemic has affected us?
honestly, here's the honest truth. I probably would never met you. Here's why.
Yeah.
I was in ES a lot in 2019. Pardon me, 2019. Quite a lot, but not. But I was working a full time job as an engineering technician at ESS at the time. I was working 40 hours a week, so I didn't have time just to be in VR and meet folks. So that we probably never would have met. And on Twitter, well, Jeff probably would have got eventually probably met at PAX some
Probably.
time.
I mean,
Years from now, maybe next year,
yeah.
has to occur. But I think what really got together is that this was the timing was the best times, the worst of times, this kind of product. And me
Right.
just sitting in there meeting folks, and then you having some free time too, working from home, to then spend a few hours in Neos seeing this thing take off, that the software itself, how it works. And then what really triggered me and why I really wanted to push you into this is the W word, WebSockets. The one thing that Neos has, remember, I'm not a software person at all.
Right.
I know that Neos has WebSockets, people. What that means is that you can talk over a pretty rich text of data. I wouldn't call it high speed, but it's pretty rich. That's why what you can send back and forth. It's a nice packetized way of getting data in and out of Neos in a very clean way. And so
Right.
I think between the internal software code warriors and the external code warriors, and then the hardware Sparkies, we can then have what is a USB COM port plugged in device eventually. Because you mentioned it a while back to me, oh, I kind of want to put it on WebSockets. WebSockets? Wait, you said WebSockets? Have I got some friends I want you to meet tonight?
Yeah. So like,
Yo, I'm not gonna lie. I
Later.
think I was actually in the Discord when a conversation like this took place, when y'all started talking about being able to communicate over the network with it and stuff like that.
Oh
yeah.
yeah, that was a
So
hot thing.
the video that Jasmine VR put out about this device, Neos was actually talking over the network directly to this. It wasn't through like our desktop SDK or anything. This was like sitting there on the Wi-Fi network, and Neos was just talking directly over the network to this. So that, yeah, part of like where we're going is a lot more being handled on the device itself. Though we'll still have a desktop SDK, especially, we still want to support the original Cilia. We're, yeah, just going to be updating that a little bit to meet more our newer APIs, so it's a little more error prone. Or sorry, less error prone than my original API. That was kind of something I just kind of developed, which we want to use standardized, messages, more industry standard messages types, and then what's it called? We want to be more cross platforms. That's another goal, is not just
One,
be
two.
Windows,
Three.
and it'll
Yeah.
probably, as a result, it'll be more like just an application you run, closer to like Oculus Home or that. You just start that up and then it runs, versus currently it's just a program that runs in the background on Windows even when you start at the machine. But what if you want to close it? Not everybody's going to know how to like go in and close that. So if it's just an application that's sitting there, you can pull it up and you can press the X button and shut it all down.
Speaking of cross-platform, so yeah, it's changed, at least on my end, at least my thinking over the last 6 months is Apple has now got some gaming power in their computers. And
Right.
some market,
Well,
I may have to go buy you an M1 Mac Mini as a compiler computer, so you can compile it.
right.
Whoever's going to do that for us, get them some ARM architecture Macs up. They can go, because that'd be cool. I mean, I got Intel Macs, you got Intel Mac, but I mean, if you want a new spicy one, uh,
Right.
now that's happening, and Apple has got a lot of money. They could pay a lot of AAA studios to compile for their architecture now at a sheer petty
Definitely.
cash. So, and if they're going to put things on the Mac, there's games that can take this to the Mac. And Linux can just figure their own stuff out. They're geniuses anyway, so that's not a
Yeah.
problem.
So
And
There's a
and
market
okay,
the
there.
fun thing is, since it's running a lot of the stuff like in it, like it works without desktop. It'll work with Quest and smartphone and all
Oh
that.
yeah, and
Yeah.
standalone too. So actually, I got to get back to that person up there in Redmond. Um, Racing sims. I was actually over near my previous employer, well, kind of employers ish. I worked on Halo many years ago, Halo Infinite. Hi, I was at the studio there a while back before the game launched for the business stuff and on vacation. And there's a racing sim place down the street from them, and they've got these awesome, of course, made out of aluminum, $8,000 piece racing sims, right? I'm drifting a bus around the Nurburgring, right? Big old fat city bus. I had the idea of, wait a minute, wait a scope. I have burnt rubber at home and gasoline that smells. And I'm thinking, oh my God, what if I had this thing mounted at the bottom of my race car, and whenever I peel out too hard, and you see smoke come around on the map, around it, and some tire damage, you get a whiff of burnt tire smell. I thought, oh my God, mind blown. So one of our markets we're looking into is not just personal use or developers at standalone stuff, but like stationary things, escape rooms. I mean, I actually kind of want to. I've got a niece who loves scented candles, and I would love to give her a gift one of these days. Where I can have this thing talk over her. She go, Alexa, I want to smell some boing cones. Okay, my dear, and there you go. So you can basically, it's now a voice activated Airwick. At the end of the day, it is. So imagine having buried next to you, around your
Your
area, right?
study
Yeah,
area or work
the
area
area,
or whatever.
Thanksgiving dinner last night. I mean, imagine that. Hey, we can kind of dress up the smell with a little more pumpkin spice, but we're not actually consuming anything. It's just another thing we can we look about senses as being part of architecture. Sounds like a tangent. We do line design all day long for architecture. Why not smell
synth
design?
design.
Yep. Scent design. Exactly.
Exactly. Exactly. Just another input.
So
Taste is out there. We all agree that, Peter. Taste is out there, but this is here and now, and it's very easy to work with and very predictable too.
So, I got two questions. One
Okay.
is really interesting because I know that y'all are talking over the network. You have webhooks that talk directly from the game straight to the device. Um, is there any thought or any protocol in place for security so somebody doesn't like scent bomb you by injecting something into the data that's going to the device? Is there any kind of like authentication from the device to
So
wherever it's connecting to?
So one thing I'd say from the physical side that a lot of people don't necessarily understand
Sense
is
that.
they think that this is able to put out like every cent at all times, whereas the truth is it has 8 cents it can put out at any given time, with expansions maybe more, and you really only put in the scents that you want to smell. If you buy a cartridge for a game and they have a zombie smell and you don't like it, you just pull it out and then put the cartridge in, and now you don't smell zombies. But beyond that, if you wanted to like make sure that I don't know, they just smelled or played peppermint randomly, and you didn't want to smell peppermint, I
So
we're probably going to be looking more into that in the future, kind of like the secure.
And the way it already is security, this is how it does. So if the only way they get hit spam is if they create a collider boundary in Neos right now, right? And in that collider boundary, they have a label on it. The label says Applewood smoked bacon, okay? If they have to know the exact name of the smell, they can't just put in wildcards and have Neos just go all fans on. So you'd have to somehow, like a password cracker, brute force every known smell on that collider boundary very rapidly, long enough for it to trigger, and then tell the device to kick on the fan.
I think he's thinking outside of Neos, like somebody on your network turns on your device.
I'm thinking whether they're using a platform like Neos to do it, or using anything else like a
Just sending
malicious
messages
network
over the
attack
network.
to send messages to it. Is there a way to authenticate messages? And this is a conversation we can take offline if you don't want to have like a
Sure.
security centric breakdown
I mean,
on live stream. I get that. But
we're
what I
probably
was
not going
thinking
to
is that
do it
you
right away, but I
if
imagine we'd use a what's it called? Public-private key encryption to send over a symmetric key that may just be a kind of on a per session basis, and then send all further traffic for that session encrypted with the symmetric key encryption. It's something that we have to add in later down the line, but we'd basically be using the well tested open source SSL type libraries to handle that.
gotcha.
Yeah.
As far
What I
as
was
like,
thinking is that somebody could inject or send a signal to it and tell it all fans on 100% and blast somebody in the face with every
Well,
smell that's in their cartridge. But if you're using
I,
a shared private key
right, so
authentication
that you
to
verify that
go in between the
user.
two, then
so
that makes sense. It would
all
be
fans on is not a
significantly
valid
more
command.
difficult to inject something like that.
Right, because it's pretty much impossible to know what, the pre-shared public key is. And even if you did, then you'd have, in order to be able to send the new symmetric key, you'd need to know what the private key is. And there's pretty much no way to get the private key unless somebody like shared their private key. So
There's no all fans on command that you can trigger that far into the stack. So because the processing is all done here, basically Neos is a command that says trigger these sets, and it matches these names. The names are pushed down to here. So
now, what a game developer could do is they could develop a map that does have all the smells in that map come on at once, and that could be annoying to some users. But in that case, like I said, the first thing is you take out any scents you don't want to smell, and if you find that they're spamming all the remaining smells at once, probably best not to play that map.
I think also rate limiting. If we there, it can be set up that if more than 4 fans are triggered at the same time, set all fans to half speed. That way you can't do all at 100%. You can only get mixtures of 100% across all the fans. No one fan can go out. So that
Perhaps. There is an argument for being able to control all of them, because at some point, if you were to have like a set of 10 smells and you were to cover you have like buttery, you have musty, you have etc., then there's definitely people out there who want to attempt the scent mixing to recreate other scents.
as long as they keep
So
all under 100%. So as long as so
the
as long
normalized value or whatever.
as they can, it's so fractionable. But you don't want
Right,
to try
right.
10, 20% fractional ratings. You want to try to do 100%, and then at 80% you do 50 and
I could see in that event if somebody was clever enough to mix the 10 original scents into something that's stinky. Um, though yet again, if you don't like musty smells to begin with, you might pull out the musty smell from those set of 10 smells. And though to be honest, if you want to get like actual like kind of color science with smells, you really need a set of about 400 scents to recreate that, which is not really within the realms of practicality. So the Cilia is definitely targeted more towards you have a palette of scents for your game, and you just turn them on as needed to kind of give the feel for your game. And then as you go from region to region, like we mentioned, you'd swap out cartridge with a cartridge for that region of the game.
I
And
want
maybe
to.
have multiple cartridges plugged in if you have the expansion unit. So you could have all four cartridges for the game loaded up if you had it extended out to like maybe like here or something.
I never envisioned going past 2 total. I thought 2 be the max. We can almost do more
I
electrically.
think four is we decided like four might be the maximum. 4 rows would be the upper limit.
Them
I
on
want to
top and
thank
whatever.
y'all for taking the time
Yeah.
to explain how just by design is inherently safe from scent bombing, because no matter how many times I've had this conversation or how many times I've tried to explain smell for VR to my friends and colleagues, there's always that, well, you're going to get stink bombed. It's like, no, it doesn't really work like that.
Okay,
And
unlike
I've
audio, where you get ear abuse from places like the art shop, the public, for example, you can't just you can technically put a limiter on your receive audio. You can go through say Cubase or Fruity Loops, and you can technically use a DAW to do real time audio filtering on your audio. So you can probably extract out some screaming kid. That's possible, but here it's simple. We're doing it at the hardware. We're doing filtering at the hardware level. You just go, oh, I don't like
unplugged
the
the
smell.
thing.
Unplug the musky husky, get rid of it. I mean, that's all you gotta do.
Or the stinky skunker,
Right, exactly. I mean, so
corpse flower, or
oh
Look,
god,
uh,
look,
the Angan fruit,
I
fruit
went
no,
to
no,
stuff,
we're probably
Arizona
not going to do
Sunshine
corpse
and
flower.
durian,
smelled
That
the
that
durian
was a
zombies.
fruit,
kind of.
durian fruit.
I
Oh
need
my
to
god,
clarify. Corpse flower is kind of a joke. I know that's endangered, so yeah,
no, we would do that. No,
we're not going to do corpse flower.
no.
Though there are some other scents out there that do smell kind of like corpse or whatever. That we could put. And then you'd said, wait, what did you? There's something a little bit. Oh, durian. So durian's a weird one. I need to say durian's a weird one because yes, I need to get an actual durian fruit.
Yeah,
But
you do.
here's my experience with durian, right? So we were sending somebody durian because they wanted to prank somebody, right? And so they don't sell a pre-diluted durian scent. But what you can do is you can go on AliExpress and buy, a little thing of durian essential oil. So I got that. I opened it, I smelled it, and yeah, it smelled stinky. The problem is, then I was like, okay, this is going to be simple. I dilute it, and everything's going to be great, right? The problem is, after you crack the seal, a lot of the stinky part volatilizes really quickly of the durian scent, and it becomes more of like a caramelly scent, which smells good, which is kind of odd, but yeah. Um, so in the end, it didn't really end up working out on the durians. And I'm like, you want me to maybe put in like some drops of like skunk or something to like really stink it up, because that one does stay stinky for a long time. But they weren't really interested in that. Yeah. But then later on, my further experience with durian is I actually went to, with Jeff, our mutual acquaintance, to a place that has like vegan food. I'm not sure it was vegan or vegetarian, but regardless, they had a durian smoothie, and I decided, I'm gonna get this because the same person they were trying to prank had like a durian smoothie, and they don't like it, even like the taste. And I got that, and the funny thing is, I got it, and it smelled kind of caramelly, and personally, I liked the taste. And like several months later, like I got one at a different place, and it also smelled caramelly and tasted good. So I think if you are after the strong, stinky smell of durian, it's one of those kind of unfortunate smells that the part that you want, like, either gets away or oxidizes really quickly, and you don't get that strong stink again. So, yeah, like I said, I need to go buy a fresh durian and see what that smells like, because I'm sure that's probably where your best chance of
No.
getting the stink is.
How about we just don't? For the science, we just don't. You monster. That's horrible.
I know you can
Uh,
get one in the area.
gotcha.
Banned from traveling. You bring down your travel luggage. That's a good way to get banned offline. Oh, Peter Sassman, come to the TSA desk. We have some contraband. What? It isn't the 200 tons of oil we're bringing to the place. No, it's fruit, sir. It must go.
It smells too stinky.
Could you know the whole plane just smells like ass?
So
No, if you really want that, trust me, it's the skunk. That one was the interesting one because I people kept saying they wanted skunk, right? I'm surprised how many people have ordered it, but it took me a while to tune that in. The first person I sent it to, I put 20 drops. I kind of become numb to the scent. 20 drops just diluted in 15 milliliters is too much.
Yeah.
Um, so then somebody else I subsequently then to I sent like 10, and then they were willing to work with me, so we went down like 5 and down, and we settled at 3. Just three, not big drops, but like little, like you get a dropper and just barely let a drop fall out. 3 of those drops in 15 milliliters. That's the sweet spot for diluting your own like actual skunk oil in like coconut oil. It doesn't require like 5% or whatever it is for a lot of other oils. It's very potent.
so have y'all all right.
If you want it to stay around the bottle, is what I'm saying, until it actually wafts it at you. It doesn't take
So have
much with
y'all
the
done
skunk.
a lot of scent experiments like this and like messed with the different scents to get
So
everything right?
that one, and then as far as those two are the primary ones where I'm like buying something and mixing it. I've tried to distill my own essential oils. The most I've gotten is a little bit of like coffee essential oil. um
What's the
it's an interesting process. You have to have something that, for one, still has a good bit of oil to it, and then you either have to do an immersion where you actually put it in basically boiling water, which isn't the ideal way of doing it because you're going to change the chemical composition some.
like the heat
The
will
other,
change the chemical composition?
right, the better way to do it is you have like a whole separate chamber where like the plant matter or whatever is, and then you steam it to flash off the oils, and then the steam carries it, and either way, now at this point you have the steam with the oils. They go through a condensing column which has water cooling the coil, and then it goes down to a separatory flask. The problem is the same temperature that gets your essential oil also evaporates water, 100 degrees C. So you're getting both of those into a separatory flask. Then you have to hope that whatever you got actually likes to easily separate from the water, so that you can then just see, oh, here's the oil, and then some of it sinks, some of it, some is heavier, some lighter than water, and then you could like turn this little valve and get out the little bits. And sometimes you have to run through, like, here you have a big separatory flask, then you have a smaller separatory flask until you get the little bit of oil. If you want to improve your chances from there, especially if it's not separating from the water, Peter already mentioned sometimes you have to mix it with something else that also won't combine with the water, like DCM, and get the oil and the DCM to mix together, and then separate that out from the water. And from there, DCM has an even lower evaporation point than the oil, so you can then evaporate off the DCM, leaving you with just the essential oil.
Dude, we
So
gotta get
needless
Niall
to
Red in this
say,
thing.
it's complex. And not all things can be really captured that way, from in like an essential oil, um, which is kind of the tricky thing. And also, like I said, some things like oxidize really easy. So that's been like our interesting challenge with, honestly,
Is
gunpowder.
that cookie dough?
Is Yeah, cookie dough. Is gunpowder, finding a good gunpowder. We've tried from some different places. The best one we found is from the place that like was like kind of like, it's not all that realistic. Like they were down on themselves versus the other players who were like, oh no, it's completely realistic, and they're like terrible versus the other place that's like, oh, it's not that great. Was probably like a 3 out of 5 star type rating, which is about like the highest we found. And some of the challenges from researching that is the those are chemicals that like to oxidize, and if it oxidizes, the scent goes away. So you need, or at least in the case of like, a gunpowder scent. So for now, like getting from the one supplier that at least has the better one is probably going to be the best route. We Though that supplier is a higher cost, so we haven't put it on our site yet, but we need to at like a slightly premium cost. Like here's the better of the two gunpowders. Long term, we still kind of need to figure it out, either like getting our own chemists on it, or maybe, like we said, the nice thing about the expandability on here, maybe we could make a module that actually releases those chemicals in, mind you, small
We could
quantities
run it on
on
gunpowder.
on the fly, like either whether it's burning really small quantities of actual gunpowder or chemicals that release the same thing that are less volatile. I
Less volatile than gunpowder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But keep in mind, it needs that one is one where if we were actually making it on the fly, that's where your security would come in, because like in large quantities, that actually isn't healthy. So you definitely want to keep the actual quantities of, like, if you want the real like gunpowder molecules, you need to keep that like really small, parts per million or
Peter,
whatever.
I just thought of something a minute ago. One thing we should be able to do, I think, which is I think decent enough, is to there should be a developer mode and a run mode in the Cilia, somewhere at the most basic level possible. Things easy to turn it off, via switch or a jumper, or you'll hold down, to put in dev mode, you'll hold down this button during boot. That's just a one-time thing, right? So for the next recycle, just keep it demo. The point being is that dev mode overrides all the safety limitations, but normal mode, you can't max out all the sense past a certain amount as rate limiting and spam filtering. So we can have there be a safety setting, basically, of being normal
Right.
use case that almost everyone will get by with. And then I'm a developer for my own game, let this thing become just dumb for now. That'd be an
Right,
option
right.
too. Those are software toggles. Anybody can turn on or off. There's no buy-in for it. But I think having rate limiting, honestly, I think have it max, and also from a power standpoint. Actually, I kind of roll back to your test tube. I didn't know you tried heating. That's what I was thinking about. One of the coolest things
Oh,
about
yeah,
the product.
that was the original. Basically, it was like I was heating all of them continuously with Canthal wire that was like JB welded onto the test tubes.
Oh God. So on that
Speaking
point,
of like keeping away from vape, I was kind of using vape technology, but I
what?
wasn't vaporizing. I was heating the tubes with it. The one
What?
time I accidentally dipped a coil into the oil, and I got to see that little, like, puff of smoke as like that extreme heat like
It's
evaporated
just
some
like
of the oil.
maybe I should vape out some of this tonight in my room. Just happens like
Oh
vape.
no. Oh
I
no.
got. But no, the
Yeah, no, we've moved completely away from the heating method. Another problem with that is that, like, people always wonder, does it fill up the whole room? The nice thing
nope,
is, since
nope,
we're
nope.
just doing a cold air diffusion, like that isn't an issue. Versus if you're using heat, that's going to put off a lot more particles into the room. So you will have that
Sure.
kind of like this lingering smell.
After testing, like Colin said, after a while you can smell it. I mean, I'm not going to deny that, but it's nothing obnoxious. You don't really
Right.
notice it, actually, thankfully. That said, the most awesome thing about us not using, so those who have been banned by FDA because using vape-derived technology, yes, mechanically it's simple to put a MOSFET and drive a heating coil. As an EE, I go, that's easy, right? The mechanical parts, right?
I even pre-ordered one, so maybe someday I'll get it. I don't know.
Right? But reversely, these fans draw 40 milliamps, which is less than some LEDs do by quite a lot. So the power consumption of this device, and actually I want to bring this up to the viewers before we go any further, because we didn't describe how he powered it. You got all these awesome specs. But Peter, batteries. Let's discuss it for like 5 minutes here. Let's figure out to Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
Hold on. Before we move on,
Okay.
the stream is reconnecting.
Rutro.
Part 3, power. The whole power thing is its own little kind of interesting turn of events. That I kind of like, actually, to be honest. And actually, Peter, I should probably go out and buy the parts, make those biscuits, those power biscuits. We should bring them to CES. That's easy.
Oh, yeah. Any additional biscuits we could bring to kind of show, hey, we're looking at expansion would be cool.
Exactly. I have to show time to build. I can design a board tonight because what I'm going to do is this, Peter. We're connecting. These are 3.5 volts, 3 volts total, right? I'm going to build a boost module that takes one.
2 AA's or whatever.
Well, 4.
4 AA's.
But they're going to be in parallel in series, so you only have to have 2 cells in for it to work. The other 2 are in parallel, so it's just runtime. It's 8 amp hours. There's no point putting a holder in their fight. Only